Let's start with a personality test. Try to rate the following statements based on how well they describe your personality, 0 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. Please record your total score. In reality, this is part of a famous psychology experiment. Back in 1948, psychologist Bertram Forer designed this experiment. After the test, he gave his students a so-called personal analysis report. These reports were identical for everyone, yet the students believed they described their unique personalities with high accuracy, giving an average score of 4.31 out of 5. In fact, the descriptions were drawn from generic and vague sentences commonly used in astrological personality analyses. This phenomenon was later named the Barnum Effect, which refers to people's tendency to perceive vague, general personality descriptions as highly accurate reflections of themselves, even though these descriptions lack specificity. The Barnum Effect is a classic example of cognitive bias. Why is it called the Barnum Effect? It's named after a famous American circus showman, Phineas Taylor Barnum, who once remarked that his shows were so popular because there's something for everyone and famously said, "There's a sucker born every minute." Psychologist Bertram Forer later validated this effect through his experiment, which is also why it is sometimes referred to as the Forer effect. Additionally, because this effect is prominently observed in astrology, fortune-telling, blood-type personality analysis, zodiac signs, and tarot cards, it is also called the astrological effect. For example, when a fortune teller learns your birth date and confidently declares, "You've been having some trouble in your relationships recently, haven't you?" You might instinctively feel, "That's so accurate," without realizing that almost everyone experiences some form of relationship trouble at any given time. Here are some examples: astrology, blood type, and zodiac analyses. Capricorns are responsible but have a soft side. Personality tests. You are sensitive inside but rarely show it. Fortune-telling and divination. You've been feeling troubled about work or relationships lately. Marketing copy. What you need isn't just a product, but the feeling of being understood. Why do these statements so easily trap you in the Barnum effect? Point 1. Semantic ambiguity. Vague language, for example, sometimes, maybe, some people is often used to express uncertainty or broad meanings. These ambiguous expressions allow the speaker to avoid making absolute statements, minimizing controversy. They can easily apply to a wide range of situations and audiences. For example, you occasionally feel lonely is more acceptable than you feel lonely every day. Sometimes you're confident, but at other times you doubt yourself is a statement that resonates with almost everyone. Such phrases neither offend nor challenge, making them easier to accept. 2. Emotional needs. When people are at emotional low points, they are more likely to seek psychological comfort or an outlet for their emotions. During these times, the vague, universal language of horoscopes, fortune-telling, or other mystical content may seem particularly appealing. They provide a false sense of certainty, temporarily alleviating anxiety or confusion. For example, a horoscope might say, "You will face challenges soon, but you'll overcome them quickly." At that moment, you're more likely to believe the statement. 3. Subjective validation. People tend to actively seek out connections between general statements and their own experiences while ignoring parts that don't match. This tendency makes the descriptions feel highly accurate, further strengthening their belief. For instance, imagine you're a Sagittarius, and the horoscope says, "Sagittarians love freedom, enjoy adventure, but sometimes lack patience." Upon reading this, you might start recalling moments in your life. You remember going on a backpacking trip and think, "This really shows my love for freedom." You recall feeling impatient while waiting in line last week and think, "This confirms my lack of patience." Even though the description is extremely broad and applies to many people, you actively look for points of alignment, convincing yourself it's so accurate. 4. Flattery effect. Most people are more inclined to believe statements that portray them in a positive or flattering light. As a result, they are likely to agree with descriptions suggesting untapped potential or independent thinking. For example, if a horoscope says, "You are a wise and creative person," most people will choose to believe it because it aligns with their positive self-image and aspirations. What impact does the Barnum effect have on us? Let's start with the positive aspects. 1. Enhances self-identity. The generalized yet positive descriptions of the Barnum effect often make people feel understood and validated, boosting their confidence. Example: personality tests or horoscope analyses can help people better understand themselves. Even if the descriptions are not entirely accurate, they may inspire individuals to highlight their strengths. 2. Emotional comfort and support. Vague but optimistic descriptions can provide emotional healing, helping individuals reduce stress and find psychological relief. Example: fortune tellers or counselors using positive language can make people feel hopeful about the future, giving them the courage to face challenges. 3. Foster social interaction. In social or team communication contexts, leveraging the Barnum effect can quickly build rapport, making others feel noticed and valued. Example: a leader using personality tests during team building exercises can help employees feel understood, enhancing team cohesion. 4. Encourages self-reflection. Although the descriptions are broad, they may prompt people to re-examine their personality traits or behavior patterns, promoting self-reflection and improvement. Example: a personality test might lead someone to think about their strengths and weaknesses, helping them create a plan for self-improvement. And the Barnum effect will also have a negative impact. 1. Misleading perceptions. Because the Barnum effect relies on vague and generalized descriptions, individuals may overinterpret them and develop inaccurate self-perceptions. Example: someone who believes a test saying, "You're a natural-born leader," might ignore their communication or organizational flaws, leading to failure. 2. Risk of manipulation. Some unscrupulous businesses or individuals may exploit the Barnum effect for psychological manipulation, tricking people into purchasing products or services of little value. Example: fake psychological products like accurate personality reports or so-called relationship experts and life coaches might use broad descriptions to gain trust and promote expensive but ineffective services. 3. Reduced critical thinking. Over-reliance on generalized descriptions can weaken critical thinking, making it harder for people to analyze information or identify scams rationally. Example: believing in broad horoscope or fortune-telling statements might cause individuals to depend excessively on this information, impairing their ability to make rational decisions. 4. Psychological dependence and addiction. Some individuals may become overly reliant on the sense of validation provided by personality tests, horoscopes, or similar tools, leading to psychological dependence and disruption of normal life. Example: checking daily horoscopes to make decisions can lead to anxiety or confusion, affecting one's ability to act independently. How to avoid the negative effects of the Barnum effect. Overcoming the negative influence of the Barnum effect requires cultivating rational thinking, enhancing critical awareness, and learning how to properly evaluate information sources. Here are some practical methods. 1. Improve critical thinking skills. Don't blindly trust vague descriptions. When faced with highly accurate personality tests, horoscopes, or fortune-telling, analyze whether the information is overly broad and could apply to others as well. Ask yourself, which part of this description fits me specifically? Could it also apply to other people? Does it simply appeal to my emotions? Practice. Read books on logic and critical thinking, such as The Art of Thinking Clearly or A Guide to Logical Thinking, to develop a more rational mindset. 2. Pay attention to the credibility of information sources. Avoid blind faith in authority. Not all sources are trustworthy. Understand the theoretical basis behind psychological tests, horoscopes, or fortune-telling, and assess whether they have scientific credibility. Verify information. Opt for scientifically backed assessment tools or seek advice from professional psychologists instead of relying on widely circulated pseudoscientific content on social media. 3. Recognize vague language. Examine the scope of descriptions. Generic language, for example, "sometimes you're outgoing, sometimes you're reserved," often applies to most people. Learn to identify these broad phrases. Practice. Try reverse analyzing a description to see if it can easily fit anyone else. 4. Build a clear understanding of yourself. Discover the real you. Use scientific methods to explore your personality and abilities, such as validated psychological tests, for example, MBTI, Big 5 personality test, and compare the results with your real-life experiences. Avoid relying on external evaluations. Don't let broad descriptions define who you are. Base your self-perception on your own experiences and evidence. By following these 4 steps, I believe you'll no longer easily fall into the trap of the Barnum Effect. In the end, whether it's destiny's guidance or your own choices, always remember this: the most reliable person is the one staring back at you in the mirror.